Hi everyone, hi Mom. A quick tutorial. This was requested, a couple of things. So the first one was, how did I put my flips, my CD case papers in the book? So you need to cut two of them out. And for anybody that bought, I think it's Vintage Stuff #2, this one is in that. I have sent out an email and updated because it originally had the thumb hole up here. So I've moved it over here, and so this will be really easy for you to do. So you need to cut two of them out, okay? Now I didn't finish this one because I wanted to show you how I do it. So I cut this straight across, and then I simply take a 1 inch, because that's how the size I made the hole, and I just line up so it's barely showing the black, and then just give it a punch. Simple. Then of course I ink it up because it's much easier to do ahead of time than later on. So you notice that I have mine hanging off the edge here. That just makes it bend easier when you want to get into those little tight corners. And then I'll flip it over, and to save on ink, although I am on the ink program, but for people who aren't, I don't print on this side, I just ink it. And it, can be super rough. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. I just like to take the white away. You don't have to do the whole thing because you won't see the whole thing. But I tend to start quite a ways down just in case I get too big of a blob of ink. And then you just do the edge on the inside as well. Gives you that nice crisp line. Okay. Now for these ones, I created them so that you have distinct black lines. Now, if you're folding so that you're seeing the black line, then you need to do that for both, okay? So you just fold it over. You can use a ruler if you like, line it up, but because it has a nice big black edge, I don't really need to do that. I just pinch along, and then I'll take a bone folder and give it a nice crease. Do that on the other side. And the same for here. Now I want to match up the edge here. Okay, so now you've got your creases. You're going to open it back up again. And you're going to open this one back up again. And you're going to go opposite. So if you folded that in half, you now have one CD. Okay? You just add your glue. Try not to go right to the very edge because you don't want to glue your pocket closed. Okay. Now I want to make sure that I've got this right, so yep. And then you're just going to line up the edge, the top edge. On the one side. And line it up the best you can. and then give it a nice push. And then you're going to fold this one back, and you're going to glue this side. And just flip it down. Just like that. Now, sometimes if I'm not sure if I didn't glue, I'll just run a ruler in here. You know, make sure that it does go all like side to side. And if it doesn't, then it'll take some of the glue off. You just wipe your ruler off. Mine worked out okay this time. And then you just fold it back. So you lay that in your signature and you stitch right through it, and there you go. Simple. Okay? Now, the other thing people wanted to know was how I attach my edges. And I thought since I'm here, I might as well do the corners as well. I use Gorilla Glue, and it seems to work real well for me. It's not too expensive, and I like it because it has a more direct nozzle rather than E6000, which stinks to high heaven. And this seems to work just as well as that. It's very secure. You have to really squeeze to pull the top off, and then there's another top. And while I'm here, I need these. So I use jeweler's pliers. Use whatever flathead pliers you have. And I'll start with the corners. So all I do, sorry, I got a mess here, is put a little bit in the corner. You don't need a lot. You don't want it to squish onto the book. You know, it's not super forgiving in the sense that you'll see a shininess, but if you do when you're using Mod Podge, it's not really that big of a deal. So push that in, then take your pliers, hold the corner in as best you can, and I always start in the center and squeeze that so that it's now not going to move. Double check again and use the flat, like go right over top of it, nice and flat. Okay. Now that puppy is not going anywhere, okay? That's what it looks like. Okay, so that's the corners. I'll finish them off camera. And now, you wanted to know how I add an edge here. Actually, here on the back. You can do it front and back, but I'm just going to do the back to show you. I might put one on the front later. So I have a little filigree, and they come in all different sizes, widths, colors. This one, it was the gold, but it wasn't quite gold enough, so I just take a little crappy, this one, paintbrush, like literal dollar store paintbrush, and I use a little bit of gold alcohol ink, and you just kind of pounce it and then brush, and then you'll still get that nice distressed look, but you'll add a little bit more gold. It was a little too brown for me, so that's what I did. Then just clean your brush with the, oh jeepers, I can't even remember the name of it. Hang on, it's right here. Alcohol blending solution, which you should have if you're using alcohol inks. Okay, so in order to get that on the edge of my page, I take a ruler, good old rulers, and what you're going to do is line it up on the top. These are very pliable, and you're just going to start to push just to get started. So I'm squeezing my fingers together at the same time as I'm pushing down. just to get the bend started. Now you can see, you know, I'm not like Wonder Woman with major muscles. So if I can do it, pretty much anybody can do it. Okay. Now you don't want to squeeze it all the way closed because you still have to put it over the edge of your book. But you can see how I did that. Okay. So we got a little bit of a half there. Now, I am all about eyeballing. So I got to get this stuff out of the way so I can get you guys on camera. Okay, there we go. I'm going to eyeball it. So that's approximately where I'm going to end up putting it. So before I do that, you just lay your book down. You take your glue again. Now before, I'm going to do it this way because I am on camera, so it's a little harder. Normally I'd put this right up to me. You're just going to add a little dab here and there, just so that it holds down pretty well. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to put eyelets through it. By the way, you guys, I ordered a new camera, so I'm pretty excited. It actually has a pause feature. And so I think I'll be able to do longer videos because I can just pause while things dry. That's the reason I don't do a lot of long-winded tutorials, because I end up going past the 30 minutes, you know. Okay, so then I'm just going to line that up. Now you can do it two ways. You can start squeezing it down yourself. You can use your pliers, or if you've got a jeweler's hammer, which I do, you can hammer it. But I'm going to just use my pliers. I'm going to hold that in and give it a squish along the edge. That's where the most important part is along the edge, because then it won't move on you. And then you can go in and squeeze down, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to turn that so you can see it. Give me a second to grab my eyelets, which I forgot to get. Okay. Now, I don't need huge ones, so just get rid of those. And I think I'm going to use the brown ones. Now, if you end up with eyelets that, you know, they're not the right color, but they're the right size, you can always use the alcohol ink on them after. But I'm going to use the brown. I might go later and touch it up with a little alcohol ink. But for now, we'll just do that. And then I have the crocodile, which is probably one of my favorite tools. They're not inexpensive, but they're worth it, in my opinion. You can get two sized holes here. We need the regular size because these are regular size eyelets, but you know those little tiny ones, they require this one. And I also use this hole punch for when I'm adding the Tim Holtz hitch fasteners. I use the tiny hole. Okay, so now you just need to determine where you want to put your eyelets. And because you're going to use different, you know, filigrees than me, you just decide each and every time. Now, I'm probably going to go right here. The great thing about the crocodile is it cuts through metal, which is why I love it. So I'm going to try and do this on camera. I'll stick that under the book. Okay. And I said I wanted it here. So now I just have to look at it. Sorry guys, because I got to line it up. And I'll just gently pinch it so that I can get back under the camera. And then you just give it a squeeze. Now, sometimes you're going to end up with a little piece left. That's fine. Just twist it and pull it off, because your eyelet's going to cover that anyways. Clean out your hole. Okay. And then I'm going to go squish that back down again first. I'm going to go on this side, and I have to look again. And don't worry if it's not exact. I mean, no one's going to be looking at it going, oh, you're a millimeter off. So don't worry about it. But you have to have the hole big enough that you can actually get your eyelet through. So if there's a piece that is not cooperating, again, your Tim Holtz scissors, those are great because they cut through metal. Okay, so now, did I use the small hole? I did. What a dork. Now I gotta do it again. I'm looking at it going, why does that look so small? Well, that would be why. Okay, I need my pokey tool. Get that out of there. Okay. And go back into the book cover again. There. All right, now I did it. Okay. Then you pop your eyelet through here. And I already have mine set, but if you're unfamiliar, they have settings right here, and it tells you what number you need. So it's all, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. When you're doing, if you're looking at it from the upside, you want to have the post go down the hole, because this bottom piece here is what will spread your eyelet. It'll kind of hit the center of it and push it out. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that. Just pop it in, gently give it a squeeze to make sure that it's going to work. Turn it over. Now you see that's already bending for me in the right way. So now I can go back and squeeze just a wee bit harder. You want to make sure that on this side you're flat, which I am. Okay? It's as simple as that. It doesn't take a lot of hand strength either, which is great because sometimes my hands don't work very well. Lightly squeeze it. That's looking good. And then go back and squeeze again. Don't go all he-woman on it though, you know, because you don't want it to curl back up again on you or flatten the top. Sometimes if you push too hard, you're going to flatten that top. Okay, so now that I have that on, now I need a hole for my hitch post, so I'm going to use the little one. And I kind of like mine. That's the nice thing about these. These, you can adjust them so that you get an even, if you're doing a bunch of holes along the edge of a page, say you want to thread, you know, some ribbon or some jute or whatever, you get consistent holes this way, depth-wise. I'm going to check to see how far that is. That's a bit too far for me, so I'm going to shorten that a little. Each book's a little different. It really depends on where I put my paper. It's just a visual thing, really. And then all you have to do is basically, you set that on top of your middle here, and then pull your book up. Then, you know, you're pretty even. Punch a little hole. Let me get my hitch posts. Hitch fasteners. Jeepers, I wish I could say the right name. And then I want sort of a gold colored one. And then you're going to put that from the back. It's just basically it's a big old screw is what it is. Then you just turn that on there, like so. And then what I do is I take my little ruler if I can find it. Apparently I don't know where I put it, so I'll use my big ruler. And I kind of use it as a screwdriver. So I usually use the little ruler, but okay. Now it depends where you want that. If you want it going this way or if you want it going up and down, it doesn't matter. But I hold it, and then with my other hand I just tighten the other side so that that stays in the direction I want it, and then it looks nice and finished. Okay, so that's the inside of the book. Now, adding the elastic is, let's see, I just use these hair bands from the dollar store. And I think I'll use the brown one. I have one left. And I'm going to cut it. Now these ones are great because they don't have the metal. Now if you notice, I don't know if that shows, but you see it's melted right in the middle? If you can manage to cut it right in the dead center there, then it won't fray. But if it did, this is a real quick fix. Take your heat gun, get it nice and hot, and melt the end. That's it. You can use a candle or whatever, but I always cut mine because I like to adjust them. This one I won't tie tight because I don't know how thick the book's going to be till I actually make the signatures. So normally I do the signatures first, but this time I wanted to show you the tutorial, and I didn't want to waste all this stuff on just scrap paper, so I put this cover together yesterday, and I really like the way it turned out. The paper collection is from Dreams, etc. Not sure of the name of it. I can always link that in the box for you. So I'm not going to tie that tight so it, it's easy to take apart again. I'm going to shorten that though. Okay, my hands aren't working today. All right. That's good enough. So then you would fold it over that way, and that would be your elastic closure. Now you see it's not going to rip the back part of your book. You can go ahead and add another piece under here if you like. And again, you do the exact same thing, only you wouldn't need the eyelet because your hitch fastener would cover the hole and you'd be good. There would be no metal that you could cut yourself on. So this one here is done with, like I say, the Dreams, etc. I've done some stenciling here with I brought them out, the texture gloss. So I've just bought some cheap little bottles from the dollar store that have a screwed tight lid. They're like little canning jars, tiny little canning jars. Added this, and then I added a little bit of this paint, which is Prima, and it's the Sparks, and it's Dragon's Eye. I really love this gold color. It's real pretty. And because this dries clear, all you see is the nice shiny gold, which turned out great. And that's it. I used the Martha Stewart here and punched some holes and just, threaded some ribbon. And the rest is just done with a nice, good size or good weight of cardstock. And I did the inside as well. So the back cover is with a double cardstock, and the front is basically 3 pieces. There's paper, front and back, and another layer of the cardstock. So it's going to be a nice, good size. I think I did 1 3/4 inch spine, and then I added the little pin here, which can come off if whoever gets this book doesn't like it. So it will be nice with the corners on there, and then it'll be decoupaged and everything. So that's the tutorial, you guys. I hope that answers some questions, and if you have any more, just drop me a line. Thanks for watching. Bye.